There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, along with me, Tim Dennis. Hello, Tim.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever this is.
People all over the world checking it out at different times of day. Hey, I've got something really cool I want to mention to you, Tim, before we get launched into today's show. It's a bit of a mix on today's episode. But I also want to let everybody know we love getting your calls, 651-300-4977. We're going to keep incorporating those into our shows, especially Saturday. So please give us a call if you've had your own strange paranormal experiences, 651-300-4977. Keep them coming. We'll keep adding them into the show. Tim. Yes. I'm going to turn this part of the show over to you because I know you've been very excited about our first guest this afternoon. So why don't you take us into the ring and tell us who's joining us?
Well, Dave, our guest for this first part of the program is a three-time WCW champion. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. He's my daily dose of positivity, Dave. And when he injured his back, was looking for a system to rebuild himself and has rebuilt millions of Americans, not just famous wrestlers, not just famous people, but you and I and many other people as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond the Darkness, Diamond Dallas Page. Dallas, welcome to Beyond the Darkness. We're proud to have you, my friend.
Hey, man, good to be back. Good to be back on there. So how are you doing with the program, bro?
I'm actually, you know what? I'm actually feeling really good. What I love about it, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself just briefly, because I don't like to dwell on myself, but I've been going through an issue with my foot, as you know, and I've been going through an issue where I've had a wound with my foot. So what I love about DDP yoga, like you say, you make it your own, and you customize it to yourself. So I've been pretty much in the chair and been using chair force. So because they've been telling me not to put pressure or stress on the foot. So I've had to use the DDPY as my own, and I've had to, in the chair force you've got the lunges, and the only thing I've had to stay away from are the lunges and a little bit of the squats. I'm in what's called the total contact cast right now, so I get away with doing a little bit of the squats, but I can't do the lunge part of it. So during the lunges, I actually do the diamond cutters. So right. So that's how I keep active during that part of that portion of the diamond dozen in the chair. But other than that, I tell you, I just kind of customize and I do my workout and I feel good. Yeah,
I was just down at the DDP yoga, the DDP. It wasn't. I stole Performance Center from the WWE. I didn't want to call my place a studio or a gym. I was looking for something different. And then I saw, the WWE's Performance Center. I'm going to call it the DDP Yoga Performance Center. But I was just down at the WWE Performance Center, and I was down there to work with the crew. Do you guys get a chance to watch NXT on the network at all?
I love NXT.
So, man, I had such a great time with these young kids down there, and some of them aren't all that young too. One of the guys who reached out to me about doing the DDPY program was Bobby Fish from Undisputed. Yeah, and Bobby's a hell of a talent. And he tore his ACL.
Right.
And so he said that he wanted to rehab, back with the program, and I've rehabbed two surgeries with my knees, back at it, because really when you get surgery and you come back out of it, the rehab only goes for a couple of weeks, and you only go once or twice a week to the rehab. So unless you figure out what to do, you never really heal back the way you were.
Right.
It's like being a peg or two off. And depending on how serious it was, especially on something like an ACL tear, and especially when you're a professional wrestler who's 40. Bobby's been in this game for, he's finally got the opportunity down at NXT, but he's a guy who's been in the game for 16 years. So his body's beat up. But it was really cool to, when I got down there, he'd come up to me, and now he's getting ready to get back in the ring. He's probably a month out, and he's got the brace on, and he hasn't been cleared for any ring work, but everything else he's been cleared for. And he told me when he first had the surgery that he started with my bed flex, like those series of workouts you do in bed. And I didn't really create that for studs who are in great shape, who are coming off of surgery. I didn't really think about that.
Right.
But he and a guy named Will, who's in the AAA, he's top shelf of the for the Detroit Tigers, and he had a hip injury, and every morning doing bed flex exercises. I'm like, wow, I didn't really realize that athletes at that level would do that. And then Bobby told me, and that got him ready to do the chair force like you're doing right now. And then it got him ready for the next level, which is, the stand strong workouts. So now using a chair, now he doesn't need anything. But that, make DDPY, make it your own, mindset. It really works. Have you gotten a chance on the DDP Yoga Now app, where I have DDP TV, and it shows you in that area how to use the app. But I mainly put it up there for the inspirational stuff, like all the different inspirational videos. Have you gotten to see our We Can Rebuild You with a disabled vet named Jerry? Have you seen any of those videos?
Yes, I've watched the videos with Jerry. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, is it Tyler who's your designer, your web designer?
Yeah. He puts together a lot of the stuff on the app.
Yeah, there's a pretty inspirational story with Tyler too. Tyler only he had a brain. Was it a brain tumor? Yes. Okay. Yes. So Tyler had exactly. Was it?
Can I interrupt for 1 second, Tim? Because this is part of, I know people right now are scratching their heads and going, you're a paranormal show. What are we talking about? And we've discovered and looked at many different things throughout the years on this show, holistic healing and other things. And listen, many of you have told me, hey, Dave, if you want to kind of get in touch with that side of yourself, if you want to start expanding your consciousness, you've got to start doing yoga. You've got to start doing meditation. I've tried doing meditation. I couldn't get my mind to quiet. I couldn't get into that zone. Yoga just looked like it was something for pretty people in Los Angeles, so I avoided it. And I've gotten older. I've gotten flabbier, and this is when Tim told me, hey, Dave, you got to check something out, Diamond Dallas Page, and I rolled my eyes. I said, wrestling, man? I loved wrestling. What am I going to watch a wrestling? I'm not going to go in the ring. He said, no, dumbass, that's not what it's about. This is going to help you. Just watch some of these testimonials. And I started watching it, and I realized just how important this was, not just for me. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Dallas. The reason that I thought it would be great to have you as one of our sponsors on the show, and Tim, and bringing you along for this ride, and it's been great for us, is the fact that we get to meet our listeners all over the world when we travel and we go to locations and we see these. And the one thing I notice, and I'm being brutally honest, is a lot of very overweight, very in pain people that are rubbing crystals on their bodies and spraying sprays that they're getting with holy water from the Holy Land, and nothing works, and they're at their rope's end. And in some cases, some of these people are dealing with terminal pain, that chronic pain that's been around forever, and some have even talked to me about suicide and how the pain has gotten to them. And watching the testimonials and seeing just what could be done, and then starting to apply this in my own life with the DDPY app, and I'm starting to feel flexibility again. I'm not feeling the pains, the aches that I did. I'm starting to strengthen my core. I realized this is pretty amazing. And then on top of it, because I'm getting into this discipline, and it's good, it's strong, but it's not kicking my ass, which was another thing that kept me from wanting to try a lot of these bad programs that I misconceived that way. But it's helped to clear my mind, and it has helped to cut the chatter, and I'm sleeping better. I'm noticing a lot of changes by doing this, and that's why I want Tim to talk about this, and you, of course, to continue as we discuss this. But I want people to realize a lot of what we do on the show is not just about the experiences exterior. It's about opening yourself up and strengthening yourself so that you can have better experiences. You can be more in tune to things. And if you're so focused on the pain in your body and you're so focused on your own misery, how in God's green earth can you actually start to enjoy your life, let alone the things that you want to explore? So this is an important part of our show, and why we wanted to have Dallas come on and join us on this and get us off our asses doing something proactive. Listen, you're going to spend hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars on ghost hunting and Bigfoot hunting and UFO hunting equipment, and you're going to go out there in the fields and stand around and be miserable. Why not do something for yourself so that when you're out doing these investigations, you feel better, maybe you're more in tune, and you start having better experiences all the way around. And your testimonials and the videos, man, the inspiration, first of all, you bring is great. It really, I don't feel like, oh, I'm listening to a celebrity hawk his wares. I really feel like you care about the people that you're talking to, and that when you're given these moments of yourself, Dallas, that you are helping. And I've watched the way that it's helped change Tim and the time that you've taken with him. And I think that this is important, and I hope people will at least listen and examine this, because it's something that will make us all a little bit better. But congratulations to you on seeing a place to help people, and not just sitting idly by or doing something that only benefited you, but sharing it. That's remarkable.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave. You know, I heard this guy Zig Ziglar back when I was a kid. I'm really into like inspirational speakers, because people go, God, how do you stay so positive? I work at it. You know, it's like I surround myself, and with the people, and and my mindset, and I listen and I watch stuff. And back when I was a kid, I had heard this guy Zig Ziglar, and he didn't say this exactly. I've kind of made it my own, but what I got out of it, he said something like, "You can get whatever you want, as long as you help enough people get what they want." And man, sometimes it seems like, oh, you keep helping people, and nothing ever comes back your way. It's a universe. It's going to come back your way. And that I've been able to leave the nightclub business is where I was for years. And then I left that to follow the wrestling dream, which became bigger than I ever dreamed. And I dreamed pretty big, considering I started wrestling at 35. But it's, in that environment of like believing you can, and then to have DDP Yoga where it is today, and it's affecting so many people in such a positive way. Like, we have a new documentary coming out called Relentless, and it's literally this story of when I broke my back with Kevin Nash, and I was out. It looked like my career was over. And then I came back through DDP Yoga at 43, and then turned it into, it's an 8-year overnight success, to get to where we are today. But, it just comes down to, I believe I can get whatever I want as long as I help enough people get what they want. And that's what this program is all about. Like, if you guys are listening now and you want to try it, I know you guys have like a certain thing where it's ddpyoga.com/ I think it's Beyond or whatever your slash.
Yeah, that's right.
There.
ddpyoga.com/beyond. And you're doing the 7-day free trial to give people a chance to do this for themselves.
Right. Anybody can try it. And I'll tell you what, even if you don't do any of the workouts or anything, just go to the inspirational section on DDP TV. And if you've never seen the disabled veteran, I helped not only lose 140 pounds, but lose his knee braces, his back brace, and canes, and not just walk, but run. Arthur Borman has become like an internet sensation. You know, I inspired one guy. He's inspired literally millions. And he'll be right where it says inspiration. I'll be the first video. But then there's like so many of them up there that'll, will make you believe like, wow, that guy or that girl is exactly like me. And like, I want to go on this, paranormal hunt, and, I'm going to be on my feet, and I got to hop in a plane, and I got to fly and then drive and then walk. And, you want to be able to do the things that you love to do. This is something simple that anyone at any level can do. And to really see that is it right under the inspirational videos is one we call We Can Rebuild You. It's something I trademarked. We Can Rebuild You. And, this guy, Jerry, disabled veteran, 100%, having all these different operations. And in 2010, one of his operations put him in a wheelchair. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen. But he got stuck in a wheelchair, but he could still move his toes. He could still move his feet. They were really screwed up, but he could still move them. And 2.5 years, he finally got out of that wheelchair on his own and willed himself to use the walker, because he knew if he didn't get out of that chair, he was never going to get out of the chair. And like he said, the disability starts between your ears. That 6-inch piece of real estate, saying whether you can or you can't. One of my favorite quotes is, if you say you can, you say you can't, you're right. Do you guys know who said that originally?
I do, and now it's totally evading my mind. It's whether you think you can or think you can't, you're always right, and I love that saying because it does touch. And no, for most of you, it's not Yoda that said that. Was it Mark? Was it Mark Twain?
No, it was actually Henry Ford, and I always follow that up with, well, what the hell did he ever do? You know what I mean? And it really comes down to you say you can or you say you can't. You're right. And Jerry said, I'm getting out of this chair. And he willed himself to get on this walker. And he still used the chair, but he used the walker a lot to like literally drag himself around for 6 years. And we open up with our first video. They're all about 3 to 5 minutes. There's like 4 or 5 of them up there. And the first one, you see how hard it is for him. And the second one, you see how hard it is for him. But you see him start to do things. And then by the fourth one, you're like, wow, this guy's really starting to change. He's real, and we're about 4 weeks in on our videos, but we're 10 weeks in real time.
Right.
And wait do you see where he's going. And if that don't make you believe, because now it's not just, here's a 4-minute video and here's what he did in 10 months. Here's what happened this week. And you get to watch it happen. And it's, we're getting a lot of views on it, and it's moving a lot of people to believe. And more than anything, like you said, you go to these conventions and you get to meet all, it's just like wrestling fans, man. Probably 50% of the people who do my program, 50%, which is a big part, are wrestling fans, and all different shapes and sizes, colors and creeds, and, the rest are people who saw one of my inspirational videos and said, wow, if they can do that, so can I.
Dallas, I got to throw this in here, and I got to tie this into one of our own listeners that's a friend of mine on Facebook, and give him a little. We normally broadcast, but I'm going to microcast here for just a second. Recently, you have what's called Motivational Mondays on the app, and
right.
You had a Motivational Monday where you were talking about being like an arrow. where you've got a certain amount of drag that when you pull that arrow back, and that's kind of the negative, but then be that arrow and then let it fly. And recently we had a listener that's a friend of mine on Facebook. I'm not going to give a name, but he was openly lamenting about how he had let himself down, how he was doing the program. He got the program through listening to the program here and was excited and got into it and got into the top 1,000. Really proud of himself. And then he felt like he had let himself down because he had stopped doing the program for a while. And you even say in the app and in the different videos and such, you're going to let yourself down. You're going to fail. That's okay. You just pick yourself back up again and you just keep moving. And but he was kind of openly lamenting on social media that he needed to get back into it. And I thought that this video was just perfect. And by the way, if you're watching Motivational Mondays one after another, if you're binge watching them, you will get motivated enough to run through a brick wall. It will happen.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
It'll happen. And I nearly did. So I kind of want to microcast to that one guy and just say, brother, it'll happen. You will get motivated. It will happen. You will pick yourself back up again. But Motivational Mondays really are something on the DDPY app that you need to watch. If it's even just for life, there are those messages there that go beyond just the program that get you moving, and they're there for you whenever, not just Mondays.
And that's one of the things. That's why I keep all that stuff up there. There's over 150 of them up there. So, if someone's having a bad day, pop another one in. And a lot of people don't do something because they're afraid to fail. God, I've started so many things, but I'm just so afraid to fail again. It's like failing is a part. No one succeeds. No one. Not LeBron James, not Michael Jordan, not Tom Brady. On the athlete side, not Einstein, not Thomas Edison, not Leonardo da Vinci. Like, they fail and they fail and they fail, and then boom. And it's really how you look at it. I always say, hey, you fall down, get back up again. It's not how many times you fall down, so many times you get back up again. I mean, just shake it off and move forward. And I don't care if you're trying to, I haven't found any paranormal activity. It's not anywhere. Well, keep looking, because it is. It's everywhere. You just can't give up. You just keep going.
As we're talking about the microcasting, I'm going to turn the spotlight back around for a second, Dallas, to Tim. And I've known Tim now for 30 years. Obviously, we met when we were only 6 months old, but we've known each other for 30 years. And I've seen him go into some dark places. And, we've been open on our show about our own anxieties and depression and things, because I know it's important for people to realize they're not alone. Other people deal with this, and there are ways to get through this. And I'll tell you, what's really inspired me is watching how you've inspired and how your program has inspired Tim. There's been times when I've talked to him when he's been down, and I mean down and dark because of health issues. And what turns him back around is the DDP yoga. And I've watched him with tears in his eyes as he talked to me about getting back and how he's not going to let this thing beat him. And I got to be honest with you, this guy should have lost his foot probably about a dozen times in the last 5 or 6 years. He should be wheelchair bound, but every time he gets knocked on his ass, he gets back up. He starts focusing on the DDP, DDPY. He starts taking care of himself and doing things for a dramatic change. And you can see it. And even when other issues come up, he'll get mad and maudlin about it, and then he gets motivated because of what you're doing. And I think that's an important key for a lot of people out there. That realize, hey man, it's easy to let the darkness seep in and take you over, and it's easy to just fail, because we're a pain pleasure principle humanity. That's what we want. We want more pleasure than we want pain. And as you said, you're only going to fail if you don't try. Right? Michael Jordan may be one of the greatest basketball players in the world, but he missed more shots than he made. Babe Ruth hit more home runs than anybody, but he also struck out more than anybody. And that's not just a cliche. These are real bits. And if you don't get off your ass and do something, then you've already given up. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to face the mortality of their own lives. So why not make a change and step in and do something different? Have you noticed in your life, Dallas, I'm curious, doing this, and I don't want to get into too much of the woo-woo factor for you, but when you were injured and you had to make this comeback, and I know it was a struggle, and you set your mind to do it, there are a lot of people that say, yeah, but he's an athlete, and I don't have that kind of dedication. What do you say to people that have that trouble, and have talked themselves down so much to break through that wall and realize, you're no better, you're no worse than Dallas Page, no better, no worse than Chris Jericho or Mick Foley. Just because the name and the celebrity is there doesn't mean that they're any more impressive a human as anybody else that's listening right now.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is what you're talking about, like when we're talking about the darkness. I call it emotional gravity. Like, everyone gets depressed. Everyone goes through depression. And I'm talking about Donald Trump, Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Tom Brady, the big stars in the world. Cruz, Samuel Jackson. I don't care who it is. We all get depressed. The key is when you're dealing with someone like an Oprah or The Rock or a Tom Brady, the key is you don't stay there. Like Dallas Page gets depressed. But what I found, and God, this has happened so many times, when something seems like the worst thing that ever happened to you, like let's say when I blew my back out, just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal, I finally got paid. Finally, like I made nothing compared to what everyone else made in a prime main event spot for 2 years. I was like at the bottom of the food chain financially, but I was at the top drawing, getting the ratings, doing everything. I finally got paid. I'm living the dream at a different level, and then bang. I have 3 spine specialists tell me the career is over. You talk about emotional. You talk about pulling myself into the darkness. I know, though, if I stay there, everybody's got to get through it. You got to, go beat yourself up.
Dallas, we're losing you a little bit. I don't know if you're moving around and maybe got out of a good zone where you were coming through clearly, but we're losing you, and I don't want people to miss out on what you're saying here. Okay, you hear me now?
Yep,
you're coming through now. Now you're great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We all go into the darkness. We all go through depression. We all have that, and for me, it was numerous times. But every time something would happen to me in this scenario, blowing out my back, having 3 of the top spine specialists in the world tell me my wrestling career is over, just signed the multi-million-dollar deal. They're telling me it's over, it's gone. You want to talk about emotional gravity, pulling myself down, going into the darkness. No one was more depressed than I was. But I know from experience in life, it's not about how many times you get pulled down. It's about how many times you let yourself back up. No one can do more damage to you than you. But the beautiful thing is, when you really understand it, no one can pick you up more than you. No one can give you more confidence than you. Never underestimate the power you give yourself by believing in you. And it's like you've got to turn it around. And how I do it, I start to think about, okay, how am I going to do that? And now here's the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of his life. Well, your wife at the time is going, maybe you should try yoga. Try to help your body. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And she bullied me. And when I finally let it go, you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation a lot of times. And once I did, and I realized flexibility was not just youth in the body, but in the mind. You just got to be flexible to a new idea. And what I did was I took it, and then once I realized, okay, this isn't what I thought it was, and I started to do it, it started to really help me. And then I built on that. And yoga wasn't giving everything. That's why I call it DDPY, because it's not yoga. It's yoga, it's rehab, it's old school calisthenics, it's time under tension, it's things that make it its own animal. Like Diamond Dallas Page is a piece of Jake the Snake Roberts and Randy Savage and Dusty Rhodes, all mixed in to be an original Diamond Dallas Page as a wrestler. But as a human being, I've taken the best of everyone. I say I'm the new Tony Robbins meets Jack LaLanne meets straight Richard Simmons. A little piece of everybody, that makes me that original. But about the depression, here's what happened. What looked like the worst thing to ever happen to me. And this has happened, Dave, Tim, this has happened a number of times in my life. When something looks like it's the worst thing that ever happened, it turns out to be the best thing that ever happened. You just got to ride it out. Because for me, I'm a big God person, and it's like God gives me these challenges, and then what do I do with them? And again, depression's going to happen. You got to start loving yourself. There's a lot of internal work to do, and your passion, what this show is all about, paranormal activity and finding the ghosts, these things that people don't believe in, but other people believe in big time. It's like, this is something that you're proving to yourself. This exists because, whoa, look at this experience I went through. And then someone's listening to the show and they're like, I want to go through that. I believe in that. Well, it's going to take work. It's going to take persistency. It's going to take passion. And you want to keep doing something? Like, I'm not preparing. I'm 62 years young, but I'm not preparing for 65 because that's going to be here, boom, tomorrow. Right. I'm preparing for 75, 85, 95. And that's really where I'm at. And Tim, I want to say something to you, and I want you to call me about this to really get in depth about it, because your foot is all about a wound that won't heal, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay, dude. This is like God's work. I'm just telling you. I own my own hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah, I saw that
I have
online.
done so much study on this. And it heals you on a cellular level. Like, I'll send you some information on it, but you want to find one that's near you. And I went to see my doctor. I go every 6 months, just get my blood work to see, where everything's going. And I told her what I was doing. Now I got this hyperbaric chamber, and top of the line. That next top of the line is Emory Hospital, And she's like, Dallas, all I can tell you is that I don't know enough about it, she said, but I can tell you this: it can't do anything but good for you. And she goes, I'm going to give you my one experience I have with it. I have one of my patients, she had cancer, and she had radiation treatments. And I could not get this wound to heal. She said it would not close up. I gave her every medicine I could give her. It would start to get better, and then it would open back up again. She said after 2 years, she sent her to the Emory Hospital, where she went under hyperbaric chamber therapy. In 2 months, 100% healed. So I don't know your condition, but I do know what kind of, and again, I've always, Stone Cold Steve Austin and I are best friends, have been for 25 years. I'm the first guy to ice his body in professional wrestling, meaning put ice bags on my knees, on my backs, on my shoulders. Everybody looked at me like I was a freak. Everybody laughed at me. Now everybody does it. Film my matches. I would film my matches from day one. They all thought I was being a mark for myself. No, I was using those matches to look at in game films. Today, look on YouTube. there's probably 1 million matches of guys, literally 1 million, of people filming their matches and putting them up on YouTube.
I do have to say,
always looking.
I watched the video of you in the hyperbaric chamber, and I watched the Motivational Monday about breathing through fear, because when I watched you go into that hyperbaric chamber, I'm claustrophobic, and everything inside me crawled as you got in there and you locked yourself in there. I screamed inside for about 5 minutes.
I'll tell you, that's a perfect example of what Dave was just talking about.
Yeah.
And I filmed that on purpose because I had no idea how I was going to react to it. It's for mine is the highest end one you can have. Mm-hmm. It takes you to PSI 12, which means 30 feet underwater.
Okay.
Now you're breathing in pure oxygen when you're in compression. So it heals you at a cellular level. That's why people heal like this. Mm-hmm. So when I was first going in it, I'm not really claustrophobic. But there was an angst in my chest.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. Because now there's not just 2 zippers, there's 8 belt buckles. And this thing, when it blows up, it's like a steel tube. And the unknown, right? And that's what you guys deal with a lot, the unknown. Mm-hmm. And, I realized, okay, I've got to go in it and get out of it, go in it and get out of it. And I stayed for a little while each time. And then I got an iPad, so covered, because it has to be sealed, because you don't want any sparks going off in this thing.
Right.
It's oxygen. So, bottom line is I covered my phone. Now I'm not going to talk on the phone, but I can text. So I could take my mind out of it. And after it takes 10 minutes to get to 12 PSI, so you're popping your ears for those 10 minutes. And when I finally got ready to go in, and here's what the thing is, Dave, this is a huge answer to your question. I wrote a book on it, and we'll come back and talk about this when it's about to go pre-sale right now. And in January, it'll be out there. I'm going to actually drop my new book out at the Royal Rumble. And then I'm literally going to follow the WWE around everywhere, because it'll get a lot of exposure on the book. It's called Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It. And it right here is owning the story I tell myself. Like going in that chamber in the beginning, I'm thinking about all the things that could go wrong. That's what my mind's doing subconsciously.
Yeah.
So I couldn't make myself get in. So I knew I had to baby step it, and then finally, and then I had to feel like, okay, now I can preoccupy my brain by watching something else. And then I realized for myself to finally get in there, I just had to change the story. And the story, when I started getting in that chamber, was this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever done for my body, for my health. And I read and saw all the amazing stories and cancer prevention. And this friend of mine who turned me on to it was all about MS and how your brain starts crystallizing when you start getting MS. And eventually those crystals, when they fill up your brain, start moving down your spine. And that leads to the walker, to the cage, to the wheelchair. And I've been hit in the head a few times. So I don't know what damage I have there.
Right.
So why don't I do the preventative maintenance? And that's when I started to hear the stories of this buddy of mine who had MS, how the crystals disappeared through the oxygen on the brain. So again, the story you tell yourself, inspirational things like videos, like Motivational Mondays. That's why I do them, to keep you up, keep you friggin' thinking in the right frame of mind, because it's real easy to pull ourselves down. It's real easy to create a lot of negative stuff in our lives. That's easy. It's challenging to make it a positive and look at life with a better filter, but if it was easy, everybody be doing it. It's challenging. It's hard, but it's the hard that makes it great.
So let me ask you this then, Dallas, because you are a positive person. You molded yourself into a positive person. I want to take this to a paranormal spin then. You're a huge fan of conspiracy theories. I know Raven, a friend of ours, is a huge fan of conspiracy theories too. I am a huge fan of conspiracy theories, but conspiracy theories tend to take on the negative. They tend to go quickly to the negative part of what dwells inside of us, what dwells in a situation. What is it
playing on our fears?
By playing on our fears. What is it about conspiracy theories that you find so intriguing?
Well, for starters, so many of them, and I mean so many of them, they make sense. They make more sense than, like, we'll just use Kennedy, as the first example.
Okay.
The killing of Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, really both, but the killing of John F. Kennedy, it was impossible. I mean, it's just science. It was impossible for one guy to have killed him. And when you look at all of the evidence that there is, it's like amazing to me that it's still brushed under the rug, and people can think what they want, but to me, like, that's one where you just go like, so basically killed our president.
Well, yeah, it's
and I always believe, I always don't believe that it's, let's say there's our government, okay, and what we run. And they really, they do everything for themselves, the government. They give themselves raises, they have the best health care ever, forever. We have the worst. They take care of themselves. But when it comes to the government, when it comes to something like this, I always look at it like whoever's, did that, I call them the black box. Like, whoever arranged this, they're the people who really run our country. Because it's all about the money. And like, I love Jesse Ventura's show, Conspiracy Theory, but the part I didn't like is when it went to, the boom boom, and it went to dark, like the cloak and dagger thing.
Yeah.
And I know they did that for sensationalism, but I'm thinking you didn't need that right there. You didn't need it.
Welcome to the world of TV.
Right. One that really bummed me out when they did that was when, and I have my own things, and I really don't even push it on this because I know how touchy this is, but I just want to see the plane that hit the Pentagon. Just show me the plane. That's it. I just want to see. I want to see the plane.
I actually talked to a guest on Midnight in the Desert, another show I host, and he had worked at the Pentagon, and I asked him. He didn't expect me. I kind of blindsided him, and I said, it's the Pentagon. It's one of the most important buildings in the United States. How is there no video footage of this plane hitting the building, and where is it? And he said, I wish I had answers, Dave. I can't answer that either. Right. He said that's something. And when you've got a guy who worked at the Pentagon, was there, and I said, and isn't it interesting that the one part of the building it hit was the financials, and and they were just about ready to go after our vice president for misappropriation of, was it trillions of dollars, and then we're attacked on our own turf. And it just goes away. Nobody, I don't know. Have we ever answered the question? Never. What happened to the million or trillions of dollars that went missing? Why is no one held accountable for this? It's money that could pay off our debt, and it's gone, and nobody's answered for it.
But that just like you just said, when you ask me, why are you intrigued by, conspiracy theories? So many of them make sense. And then it's like for me, so let me get this right. How the hell do people like us and people who have intelligence not believe that there are UFOs? Do not believe that there's another intelligence. Like I right now, I got my daughters, two of my daughters got me, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Masterclass. Have you seen
Yes.
Masterclass?
Yep.
It's an amazing, it's expensive. It's like $180 a year, but it's worth it, man. I mean, the Masterclass is on there from acting to, to how to play poker. The one that I'm really enjoying right now is Chris Hadfield's, it's all on, he's an astronaut. He actually commanded one of the space shuttle missions, and he commanded the International Space Station up there. Well, he's literally showing us, and if you're a novice at this, that there are universes on top of universes that have bazillions of planets, but we're the only ones that are smart enough to have, or lucky enough to have their own planet. Well, I'm not buying that. And with all the crazy amount of UFO sightings and stuff that has happened over the last 50 years, Roswell being, if you go back and watch the original stuff from Roswell, and like literally it's UFO lands. Well, aliens, it's in the paper. Like back when a paper meant something.
People
now, today,
people can't wrap their head around, there are many that believe that it would be too much to believe that only one planet sustains this life. But I think what's happened, Dallas, is that planet Earth has become that weird relative of yours that when you see them pull in your driveway, you lay on the floor and pretend you're not home. I think that aliens are intrigued with our planet, but they're like, keep it quiet. If we let them know we're here, they're going to want to hang out with us, and they're creepy. Humans are creepy. We don't want to be down there for too long. It's impossible to think that there's not more out there in this universe, that there's something going on, and that we're just one small spoke in this giant wheel of life that is teeming around the world and around the planet. Yeah, I'm curious too. A lot of wrestlers have come forward with an interest in the paranormal that have talked to Tim and I, and we've seen them on different television programs. Where do you stand on ghosts? Being into yoga and kind of being centered and
not yoga.
No, not yoga, Dave. No. No.
DP yoga.
I love yoga. Yeah, but again, different.
Right.
Go ahead. Keep going.
But have you found yourself open or sensitive to other things, to other energies, whether it might be, some people have said during meditation and yoga, they've encountered what they believe to be alien or interdimensional species, ghosts, things like that. I'm just wondering if you've ever had kind of a weird or Zen moment while working out and putting yourself in that place.
Well, my wife is like a white witch. That's what I call her. Like she's super intuitive. But I'm pretty intuitive myself. I can feel what other people are feeling. And sometimes it's one of the reasons I've been so successful in the nightclub business, to the wrestling business, to DDPY. It's being able to, be empathetic, and I think that falls in the same lines. But when it comes to, I believe we're just energy. Like, I'm looking at my desk right now, but I know that that's not really just a desk. It's, it's molecules or whatever, it's energy, man. Like, I'm about to go see my doctor right now. He is the closest thing to Yoda. And everything he does with me is through muscle testing. Meaning your body, like if I take a pack of Equal and I had you straighten your arm straight out in front of you, and I put the Equal on your chest, and I could take your arm and pull it down with my pinky. Now I take the Equal away, I put an apple there, it would be really hard for me to push your arm down. And it's just what your body wants, what your body needs. And everything, like this is stuff that, again, I've always been way far ahead of the curve and willing to try things that most people would never. Now, do they work? Well, when they work at a whole different level of like, whoa, that really works, I'm going to keep doing that. And this guy's I literally flew him in to 8 pay-per-views, 8, because I couldn't move. You have to understand, I started wrestling at 35. My career took off when I was 40. So when people saw me bouncing around like a ping pong ball, I was 40, 41, 42, 43, blew my back out, came back, 43, 44, 45, 46. I wrestled until I was 49. So I needed something to help me. And this, like, the doctor, his name is Dr. Ken West. I thanked him in my Hall of Fame speech. He's literally doing sign language to my body as it tells him where to go. And he's been working on me for 22 years. I know where he's going. Like I go, you're going to my shoulder right now, aren't you? He goes, yes, I'm going there right now. I'm going. Then he'll name off whatever muscles he's going into. So do I believe in energy healing and all of that? Absolutely. You know why? Because it works. You know, and when it comes to the one thing I want to bring up and I don't know how many people out there who have seen it, but go on YouTube. You know, like, and a lot of the, you know, shows, alien shows or whatever, when they throw in the sensational stuff, they're like, oh, come on, that's fake. But what you just showed right there is real, or it could be real. But you threw in something that's, I'm throwing a flag. But when you can grab stuff off the news, like, they're reporting it as it goes. And China, I want to say it was about 5 years ago, could be longer, but they had this UFO up in the air. It shut down the Hong Kong airport for 2 days.
And it happened, I think, 2 or 3 times, right? It wasn't just one experience. They had it over a couple of months. It happened on different occasions. Chicago, O'Hare Airport. I think that was around 2000. What was it, Tim? Around 2009?
Something like that. Yeah, 2008 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah, they had something hovering over that closed down the entire airport. So you don't even have to go that far to find that this stuff is right there. It's amazing.
But that's the part, okay? That part right there, and I didn't realize it happened in Chicago. I knew it happened in China because I saw that. Not saw it, but I saw it online, and I saw it. This is the news, you know.
Right.
They're not reporting that where it shuts down the airport. How does that not make national, world news? So this is what I think. You know, my personal belief is that the aliens are already here, and they're in a power position. And they're already walking among us because they're trying to keep it quiet. To me, like, again, this is me, you know, who think that what's possible. And it's kind of crazy, but to me, maybe not. Like, how does that, like, shuts down Chicago Airport and, like, doesn't make, like, every news station in the world?
Or it does, but they do it tongue-in-cheek with the X-Files theme behind them and roll over the story, and they're on to, you know, something else and kind of distracting. It is strange that occurs and people aren't more up in arms about it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But again, it also scares the shit out of people.
Yeah, that it does. And you can step away from it, right? Okay, that's a cool little story. What's next? Tell me about a missing kitten. I don't want to think aliens are coming.
Right.
Dallas, I know we had just scheduled for a shorter amount of time. I'm so thankful that you've hung in with us this long, and I want to remind people, listen, Dallas is so positive that you're going to absolutely love the DDPY program and using the DDPY app. He's giving you, our listeners, 7 days to try it free, right? It's a free trial. That's a week to try his program. Explore the app and own your life again. It's completely free for those 7 days. Get started at ddpyoga.com/beyond. That's ddpyoga.com/beyond. And I'm talking to all of you sitting there right now, fighting your own demons, fighting the darkness, looking for some kind of rope to grab out for. And this isn't just some motivational BS because he's a sponsor. Tim and I select sponsors that we want on our show because we believe in what they bring to us and what they can bring to our listeners. And I've met you, Tim's met you, Dallas has met you. You are hurting, you're out of shape, you're uncomfortable, and you're looking at a very long, painful future doing what you're doing now. You're the only one that's capable of changing that, and this change starts right now. And you can do it with this 7-day trial and give it a shot. It's kick-ass cardio. It's going to dramatically increase your flexibility, strengthen your core like never before, and it's all done with minimal joint impact, which was the big draw for me because I banged up my body so bad and I've had arthritic pain in my knees and ankles and shoulders that I was worried about that. I can't do a lot of exercising and working out because of how much pain I was in, and that pain is going away. It's alleviating. I'm getting back that flexibility, and I'm feeling better than I've ever felt before. Tim is too. And the DDP Yoga Now app is killer. We've been recommending it to you guys, and we know that it works. It works for us. It's going to work for you. And it doesn't matter what your age, your weight, or your fitness level is. You make this DDPY workout your own. So you get all that access free for a week. And if you don't like it, which would be completely bonkers, you can cancel it and still keep all the information for when you're ready to try it again. And again, we recommend the app, but if you're more old school and you prefer the DVDs, you can get the DVDs. But Dallas is going to help you with that, too, because when you buy the DVDs, you can receive 3 months free of the DDPY app. And for baby boomers out there, there's a program specifically for those with limited mobility and over the age of 55. And those workouts have you starting lying in bed, sitting in a chair. The DDPY Rebuild is available on DVD. And, yes, you can also find it on the app. And just for the Darkness Radio and Beyond the Darkness listeners, you can save 20% off the annual membership for the DDP Yoga Now app and all DVD packs. Just go to ddpyoga.com/beyond and get started. That's ddpyoga.com/beyond and get started. Don't forget to take advantage of the free 7-day trial of the DDP app so you can see for yourself everything this app has to offer. You're going to be amazed how much better you're going to feel after just 7 days with this program. And for those of you that like to travel or maybe would like to see this man do what he does in person, we've got a couple of great deals coming up here. September, you've got the DDP Yoga All-In Workshop taking place in Schaumburg, Illinois. You're also going to be in Ontario, Canada with the DDP Yoga Workshop September 22nd. And then we're looking forward to seeing you in person in October at Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, which is October 27th through the 31st, Dallas. And we'll have to talk more and catch up. Maybe we can get a couple of cool stories from you on our podcast while we're out there on the ship.
Hey, guys, it's been a pleasure. And, Tim, I want you to call. I want to send you that information on the hyperbaric chamber because, like I said, I'm not exactly sure what your spot is, but comes to closing up a wound, man. I don't think there's anything better out there. And, obviously – you need something to help you with that. All right, guys.
Absolutely.
Great talking to you. Have an awesome day. And everyone out there, it's been your pleasure. See ya.
It has. Diamond Dallas Page, thank you so much for joining us. All right, hold tight. We've got more coming your way. Supernatural news next with the Supernatural News Director himself, Mr. Tim Dennis, here on Beyond the Darkness.
Self-high-five.
Beyond the Darkness.
Welcome back to the show. This is the best in paranormal talk radio. Thank you all for joining in and being a part of our world. And remember, the fun doesn't end this weekend. There's more strange and wonderful topics I cover on Midnight in the Desert, Monday through Friday. And right now, if you go subscribe to Midnight in the Desert for the month of July, it's $4.99 a month to be a subscriber. And you get to listen not only to all the brand new shows right after they air and have access to them and download them, but you get access to all of the shows over the last 3 years, including all of Art Bell's episodes of Midnight in the Desert, months and months worth of fantastic programming of Art Bell and his final radio programs. So Check it out. Go subscribe right now, $4.99 a month. But this month, and this month only, if you sign up for the first time in the month of July, $4 of your first month subscription is going to be donated directly to Second Harvest Heartland. We're going to be helping them out. You know how that's been important to Tim and I over the years. It's one of our favorite charities to work with, and helping people right here in our own backyard get the help they need. And now you get a show that you like. You get to continue to listen to the strange and unusual, and you're going to help feed people in our communities right in our backyard. So go sign up, and you do it at midnightinthedesert.com/hunger. midnightinthedesert.com/hunger. We are rapidly approaching 200 brand new subscribers, and I want to thank all of you that have joined on and been a part of that with us. That is fantastic, and I can't even begin to tell you how much that means to the people through Second Harvest Heartland. And if you like our show, you're not going to want to miss No Excuse with John Taffer. Shut it down and listen to John, the award-winning hospitality legend, as he brings his straight talk and unapologetic approach to daily topics and current events. In the most recent episode of Bar Rescue, he teams up with Mark Cuban, Bethany Frankel, and more to rescue a bar, community center with a playground, baseball fields, and basketball courts in Puerto Rico that were devastated by Hurricane Maria. You can listen to his latest live podcast where he goes in depth about this amazing rescue. So download No Excuses every Tuesday on Podcast One, podcast1.com, and Apple Podcasts. Also, remember to rate and review our show. Let the world know that you love us, because the more you rate and review, the more you give us those 5 stars and compliments, it's going to spread like wildfire to all of these great places that carry our show. So please help us out with that. Tim, it's time for some supernatural news. Where are we going?
We're going to Altoona, I believe, central Pennsylvania, where a tavern is believed to be the home of paranormal activity. There's a shock, Dave. A tavern with paranormal activity.
Well, it is filled with spirits, Tim. Spirits, and that's what we call booze, Tim. Spirits. And all right, shut up.
I got it. When you spend the night in a place as old as the Jean Bonnet Tavern, although if you pronounce it in the French way, it's Jean Bonnet, and that creeps me out. You may often think of the walls and that they could talk, but if you're lucky, the ghost just might tell you. Oh, it's a clever pun in the story, Dave.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, the skeptics that come in here, they're like, "Oh, I'm not so sure it's haunted." Manager Tammy Kerr said, but all of us have stories to tell. Kerr says people have reported paranormal activity in just about every room of the building. There was a server who was going up the steps the one day, and as she was going up the steps, she had something grab her ankle, she said. So it freaked her out a little bit, but you get used to it after a while. Well, that's good. Yeah. People from all over come to stay in the bed and breakfast, hoping to get a glimpse of a ghost. Kerr has had her fair share of interactions with one particular ghost. I named Lucy the ghost in room number 3 Lucy because I don't know her name. But the history of that is that she was the mistress of a gentleman who was married, Kerr said. The wife was a little upset, and so the wife had her hung in the facility, and so her ghost roams. Well, that's a cute story, isn't it? I mean,
it's kind of heartwarming, actually.
Yeah. There are also stories of a ghost cat, a boy, and a man inside the tavern. You can hear footsteps up and down the hallway, she said. There are 2 queen beds, 2 bathrooms, and Lucy the ghost in room number 3, or at least that's what she named her. People, when they are a little more on the skeptical side, when they come in here, they tend to feel the energy and they get the goosebumps, Kerr said. We had a few people be scratched up here. I say, hey, non-believers, maybe she wouldn't scratch you if you believed in her. She's got an interesting speech pattern, that's for sure. When breakfast is served each morning, Kerr says that people who spent the night tell each other their ghost stories from their stay and just never know what might happen. Some people have amazing stories and some people have absolutely no stories, she went on to say. So there you go.
Well, that's kind of the way the paranormal works, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
so.
You have stories, sometimes not so much.
Not so much.
All right, where are we up to next?
We move on where Christian Right Radio Network promotes demonic virtual reality, Bigfoot, and UFO conspiracy theories. Oh, well, that's nice. Tim Daly, an anti-gay marriage activist and former senior fellow for a lobbying group, the Family Research Council, described Bigfoot as a demonic virtual reality projection in a radio interview. Well, it's one way of doing it, I guess.
Okay.
Described by Jared Holt of Right Wing Watch, Daly proposed a radical conspiracy theory for both Bigfoot and the UFO phenomenon. Appearing on Janet Mefford Live, a show promising good news to share with a dying culture as part of American Family Radio, a Christian radio network with close ties to the Republican National Committee. Its president has been a guest at both George W. Bush and Donald Trump's White House. Daly explained the argument put forth in his book, The Paranormal Conspiracy, The Truth About Ghosts, Aliens, and Mysterious Beings. He said, the paranormal conspiracy seeks to subvert and ultimately transform the rational view of the world through mysterious entities that thrive on instability, confusion, and fear. Daly went on to say a demonic virtual reality is taking place. The ubiquity of the high-quality cell phone cameras has made belief in Bigfoot increasingly untenable as more time passes and the paucity of photographic evidence becomes more apparent. The more unlikely an 8-foot undiscovered ape roams the forest of North America. While groups like the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization continue to endorse a biological description of Bigfoot or Sasquatch, Daly positions the absence of physical evidence as evidence of a non-physical explanation. Number one, he says, you have many, many reliable observers who have seen Bigfoot. These are not kids on a prank. The second thing is a virtual absence of any evidence of their existence, Daly told Mefford. So it shows that's what's going on is not really a physical phenomenon. It's real. It's a projection. It's a demonic virtual reality, but it's not nuts and bolts, or in this case, flesh and blood. For Daly, Bigfoot isn't biological, but part of a larger complex of paranormal activity, including UFO sightings and alien abduction. Together they form a syncretic conspiracy theory with the biblical devil at the epicenter instead of conspiracist standbys like the Illuminati, lizard people, or anti-Semitism. Interesting theory. Mefford brought up an anecdote from Daly's book in which a woman encountered a Bigfoot at night and tried to shoot it, but the animal vanished. That's one of many stories, but Bigfoot and UFO researchers are loath to admit because they're tied into the nuts and bolts three-dimensional existence of these creatures, Daly said. They're not really open to a spiritual explanation, but then you'd have to discuss it on the reality of evil. This woman in Pennsylvania, she shot it at point-blank range in the middle of the night. When she saw this creature, it just evaporated. It disappeared, and up in the sky there were UFO lights. So oftentimes you wouldn't think it. UFOs and Bigfoots, as he put it, and others of these kind of phenomena are tied and often occur simultaneously, is the quote. While Daly's theory, which replaces one paranormal explanation for another, is designed in opposition to existing UFO and Bigfoot research, the repetition of a particular idiom, nuts and bolts, is the quote, suggests Daly may find traction with traditional UFO researchers than he might suspect. A senior manager involved in the secret Pentagon UFO program, first revealed by the New York Times in December, described the government-funded investigation as delving into similarly non-physical areas of research, including invisible entities and poltergeist activity. The investigation by Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies provided new lines of evidence showing that the UFO phenomena was a lot more than nuts and bolts machines, the unnamed senior manager said in a statement to KLAS-TV in Las Vegas. The phrase nuts and bolts is used to separate new theories from old, primarily because the lack of evidence requires extrapolation into a non-material unknown. In the case of the Pentagon program, the pursuit of dubious pseudoscience has led to the conclusion that eyewitness testimony is untrustworthy because of the UFO's power for manipulating and distorting human perception, a remarkably similar line to Daly's description of alien abductees as having a demonic virtual reality imposed on their minds. In both instances, the lack of reliable evidence becomes the rationale for increasingly outlandish explanations rather than undermining the existence of the paranormal phenomena itself. Why would the devil do this? Mefford asked. Probably because he's got nothing better to do, is my answer. It's part of the devil's modus operandi. He has always used this kind of phenomena to once again destabilize, engender fear, open us up to the possibility of other realities, other beings Then we began getting involved with demonic spirits, Daly said. All through history, there have been many, many varieties of beings that are primarily spiritual beings who have terrorized civilizations and people. Non-Christian cultures are very aware of this because they have to deal with beings all the time, and that's what they have shamans for, to hold these spirit beings at bay. We're getting to that stage here in the United States. Daly further condemned Ouija boards, ayahuasca, and newspaper horoscopes. That's the kicker right there, Dave. As additional vectors.
No, maybe Dilbert comics.
Yeah,
maybe High and Lois comics, but not the astrology section. Come on, get off it.
As additional vectors for possible demonic interference. Oh, those newspaper horoscopes. And that's the name of that tune there.
That will be the downfall of our civilization, just so you know.
It really
and
will.
Next up, where are we going?
Well, 25 UFO sightings reported in Maryland during 2018 so far, Dave. Maryland is especially Annapolis, the land of UFOs. UFOs and the notion that aliens are from another galaxy could be sending emissaries to check things out on planet Earth have captivated Americans for decades, including Maryland, Dave. The state ranks 44th in the country for unidentified flying object sightings, according to a new report. The last sighting in Maryland was July 11th in Silver Spring, in case you're keeping track, where someone reported seeing a dancing light in the sky. Yeah, that's right. From 2001 to 2015, there have been 1,646 total UFO sightings in Maryland, in case you're keeping track, according to the financial news and opinion site 24/7 Wall Street. That's 27.4 sightings per 100,000 people, according to the National UFO Reporting Center. There have been 25 reported UFO sightings so far in Maryland this year. Evidently, if you want to see a UFO, Maryland is your gig.
Really? I got to go all the way to Maryland for a UFO?
Yeah.
Can't I just order one to be delivered to Minnesota? It'd be so much better, Tim.
No, sorry.
All right. Where are we off to next?
Well, how can you tell if that ET story is real? Here's how. St. Andrews scientists revised the Rio scale for alien encounters. And it says, what are the consequences for the human race if we encountered extraterrestrial intelligence? Well, if you see a story about aliens or TV online, or aliens on TV or online, how excited should you be? It turns out a team of international researchers led by scientists from the University of St. Andrews and the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California, redefines the alien detection scale. Well, now we'll know exactly right here how excited we should get. What are the consequences for the human race if we encountered extraterrestrial intelligence? If you see a story about those aliens on TV or online, how excited should you be? How much can I tease this story? Well, a new study published in the International Journal of Astrobiology revamps a long-used tool. Pardon me, little congestion there. That made it sound weirder than it should have been. A long-used tool for classifying potential signals from extraterrestrial intelligence, making it fit for the modern world of news and social media. First developed in 2001, the Rio scale is a tool used by astronomers searching for an extraterrestrial intelligence to help communicate to the public how excited they should be about what was observed. The scale measures the consequence for humans if the signal from the aliens, as well as the probability that the signal really is from aliens and not a natural phenomenon or human-made.
What was that word?
It's a lot of reading, Dave. It's just
no,
a lot.
But that last word. What was that last word?
Just let it go. Just let it go.
No.
The scale gives a score.
I need to hear it. What's that word?
Phenomenon.
Do.
Phenomenon, Dave.
Do.
Phenomenon.
Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes it just... Do you know how hard it's been for the last couple of months to hear you say that word? And I've tried my best to hold back, Tim. Mm-hmm. But I'm an OCD kind of guy. Yeah, you know me. And I had to let it out. I just had to. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you for indulging me.
Sure. You're welcome.
Back to the show.
The scale gives a score between 0 and 10 so that the public can quickly see how important a signal really is. The whole world knows about the Richter scale for quantifying the severity of an earthquake. That number is reportedly immediately following a quake and subsequently redefined as more data are consolidated, says Jill Tarter, who makes a wonderful sauce and is the co-founder of the SETI Institute.
Sounds fishy to me.
Well,
Hi-oh! Thank you very much.
Kind of is. The SETI community is attempting to create a scale that can accompany reports of any claims of the detection of extraterrestrial intelligence and be refined over time as more data becomes available. This scale should convey both the significance and credibility of the claimed detection. Rio 2.0 is an attempt to update the scale to make it more useful and compatible with current modes of information dissemination, as well as providing means for the public to become familiar with the scale. There have been more dubious signals reported as aliens in recent years, and learning the truth about these stories is increasingly difficult. As such, an updated Rio scale is required. The new study, led by Dr. Duncan Fjorgen, that sounds like a Swedish assassin, doesn't it?
Duncan Fjorgen.
Duncan Fjorgen, assassin at large. At the university's Center for Exoplanet Science, highlights the changing nature of news media, the growth of 24-hour news, and the new landscape of social media, coupled with an increase in efforts to detect ETI by teams around the world. The Rio scale is needed more than ever, he says, and it must remain relevant when communicating to the public about alien signals. The international team of researchers revision of the Rio scale, Rio 2.0, Dave. I don't know if you knew that there's a 2.0, but it's there. Hold on.
I did not. That is new to me.
Had to sneeze there. Aims to bring consensus around academic disciplines when classifying signals potentially indicating the existence of advanced extraterrestrial life. Rio 2.0 can quickly calibrate the public expectations of a reported signal and educate them as to how SETI scientists actually evaluate a signal from its initial detection through the various verification stages needed to determine if a signal is credibly from ETI. That's not an educational institute, Dave. That's actually extraterrestrial intelligence. I just learned that. Yeah.
I thought it was Entertainment Tonight Industries.
Oh, it could be Mary Hart. I never thought of that. Key to the research is also the development of a single set of consistent terminology for discussing signals, both among researchers and in the media. The team has published an online Rio scale calculator in case you needed one. You could put that abacus away. An interactive tool for scientists and science communicators to evaluate signals and give advice on how to use it for better reporting of ETI in the media. The new Rio scale has now been submitted to the International Academy of Astronautics Permanent Committee on SETI for official ratification. You can all sleep better now. That's official. Yeah.
Where shall we go next in the world of supernatural news, Tim?
We're going to Hollywood Hills, Dave.
Da 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 da. I'm very musical today.
You are, yes. It sometimes happens. It's an affliction, I hear. Fully renovated and possibly haunted Hollywood Hills home has gone up for $2.1 million, Dave. I don't have that kind of cash. Just saying.
I do.
You do?
Oh, dollars.
Yeah,
dollars. Never mind.
Dollars.
I'm out.
Yeah. It was built in 1925. It was in bad shape when it sold 4 years ago, but now it looks pretty darn good, according to the pictures I'm looking at. When last we saw this 1925 Spanish-style residence in the Hollywood Hills, you might have, I didn't, it was being sold in a state of significant disrepair, so much so that it was wondered at the time if it could find a new owner willing to commit the time and expense necessary to restore it to its former glory. Well, we're pleased to say that 4 years later, the house is still standing, though the interior is barely recognizable. The current owner has thoroughly remodeled the place, leaving a few vintage windows and a handsome beam ceiling in the living room as reminders of what it once was. Speaking of what it once was, we should mention that the house was probably haunted. It's not a bad thing.
Dun.
Various reports of ghostly apparitions spotted at the residence throughout the years could be found in a few dark corners of the internet, and parapsychologist Barry Taff tells a documentary crew that he once was pelted with pennies that mysteriously fell from the ceiling when he visited the house in the 1970s. Outfitted with plenty of wide windows that give the place a light and airy feel, it doesn't look very haunted when you look at listing photos, but one can never tell just by photos now, can you? The house has 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, features a fully renovated kitchen, fireplaces in the living room and office, 3 separate bedroom suites, and a tall entryway with an elegant winding master stairwell. The home sits on a 5,970 square foot lot and includes numerous patios, Dave. They're patios and decks that provide excellent views around the surrounding hills.
Tim, I think that's patios.
Patios, Dave. Patios.
No, patios are those little nuts that are so delicious.
Yeah, you grow them right there on the back of the house.
Yeah, but they're talking about patios, Tim. Patios, patios.
No, patio was a babysitter I had back when I was a kid.
And it also sounds like a delicious cereal. New from Kellogg's. Enjoy a big, fresh bowl of patios.
It was last sold in 2013 for just about $700,000. The house was. Now it's listed for $2.095 million. If you're interested, but you just stand in there and pennies will rain down on you if you bring Dr. Barry Taff, and you make that money back up. That
is one of his most impressive hauntings. I mean, one that he's talked to me about, and I talked to us on our show about quite a few times about just how bizarre it is.
Yeah, so just bring him over, stand there for, 10 years. You'll get your money back. Just saying.
All right, and next, sir.
Director Corin Hardy tells the story of a chilling ghost encounter when filming The Nun in Romania. Oh, boy.
I'm going to Romania.
Yeah, you are. You're in trouble. Yeah, you're going to end up all kinds of ghosts. Just saying. As part of no problem. As part of New Line's Scare Diego panel at San Diego Comic-Con, new footage from Corin Hardy's The Nun was shown off, and Rafael Montemayor was on hand to recap the footage that hasn't yet made its way online. During the panel, Hardy also told the creepy story from the filming of The Nun in a Romanian castle, where he dug deeper into during a chat with Cinema Blend. According to Hardy, 2 ghosts oversaw the filming of the Conjuring universe's darkest chapter. He's quoted as saying, "We were shooting in a real Romanian fortress. It was used to store weapons, like an old bunker." Hardy told the site everyone was a bit unnerved by it, pitch-dark tunnels you could get lost in. So when we shot this sequence, it was called the Corridor of Crosses, and it was a 200-foot-long corridor, deep, dark, dank. Where I was situated, I had to be out of camera shot. So I was in one of these cells, literally a door from the corridor into a pitch black room. I see these 2 guys from the crew, probably sound department, just sort of sitting back a little further in the dark. I said hi. I was focused on the film. I turned my back and sat with my back to these 2 guys, and I was watching the monitors. Hardy continued, half an hour later, I finally got the shot. I got up and turned to the 2 men and said, "Did you see that?" And I turned around, and there was no one in the room. And there hadn't been anyone there the entire time at all. There's nowhere they could have come out of. I saw them on the way in. I just felt that they were there the whole time. I can only assume that they were probably like Romanian soldiers watching over the filming of The Nun, he added. The Nun returns to terrify audiences on September 7th.
That movie does look disturbing. I've got to admit, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I'm hoping it's better than the first Annabelle movie.
Yeah.
But, these spin-offs of the Conjuring series, it'll just be interesting to see where they take this one. I'm hoping it's a good one. All right, where are we off to next?
Strange darkness stumps Siberians. It's called The Sun Going Down. No, I'm kidding. I like to make fun of Siberians because they can't find me. Residents of a large region of Siberia are baffled on Friday when an inexplicable darkness fell over the area and lasted for hours. We call it nighttime. I'm kidding. According to local media reports, the strangeness started late in the morning when the skies over parts of the Russian Republic of Yakutia, I believe, suddenly, I don't live there, so I don't know, suddenly turned dark and then stayed that way for a whopping 3 hours. 3 hours, Dave. Frightened residents were forced to wield flashlights in order to move around safely outside and largely retreated to their homes because it felt as if something heavy in the air was pressing on your chest. Following the odd event, bewildered residents ventured outside and reportedly found that a layer of dust had covered everything. Meanwhile, water in both uncovered barrels and lakes had turned dark and murky. This led to many to conclude that the eclipse-like incident was, in fact, caused by smoke coming from the wildfires raging in a nearby area. However, not everyone is convinced by this explanation, especially after one area official disputed the discovery of dust and insisted that many witnesses can confirm that they saw no such thing. As one can imagine, the area was once plunged into darkness, said to be the size of Italy, now finds itself shrouded in confusion as no one is quite sure what was behind the weird event. Not unlike here in America, speculation on social media has turned to some fantastic possibilities. Messages are going around about a light flash registered by the U.S. satellites, one resident said, followed by an increase of radioactive level and unusual activity of the military, and another individual offered the rather imaginative musing that this can only be explained by a UFO. There you go.
That is pretty weird. I mean, 3 hours of darkness and they have no idea what happened?
Although if you're finding dust and stuff in the water, I got to think that that's coming from a nearby wildfire.
You would think. Yeah. You would think. All right, where are we off to next?
Next, a woman claims to solve a strange cougar situation using telepathy. Evidently, plenty of older ladies around as well. That's a cougar joke, Dave. It's a cougar joke. Yeah. An Oregon woman who stumbled upon a mountain lion that had wandered into her living room says that she managed to coax the creature out of her home using telepathy. Professor Xavier was nowhere to be found. Lauren Taylor.
She used telepathy.
Yes, she used telepathy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lauren Taylor vividly detailed the bizarre encounter, which took place earlier this month on her Facebook page. According to her, the strangeness began when one of her roommates spotted the out-of-place feline and screamed out in fright, which caused the cat also to become frightened and hide behind a sofa. I would be too. Rather than promptly calling animal control, Taylor opted for an unorthodox and decidedly daring approach to the harrowing situation. Upon realizing that the cougar had somehow fallen asleep behind the couch, she made some noise to wake it up and then consciously raised my frequency, gazing lovingly into her eyes, and communicated using feline speak eye blinking to calm her. I've done that to Chris Fleming once or twice. It never works. Yeah.
Oh, you and your weird crush on Chris.
It's not a crush. I just feel like I can communicate by looking in his eyes. Taylor's reasoning for this is that cats are extremely psychic and perceptive of energy. It seems that the tactic worked. See? It worked, Dave. As the mountain lion was soon snoozing once again. And incredibly, Taylor says that the cougar actually slept for an astounding 6 hours behind the couch since, in an incredible display of patience and courage. I don't know that courage is part of it. Maybe a little crazy. They both start with a C.
Right.
Yeah. She and her roommate decided not to disturb the animal. Probably a good idea. However, they eventually realized that it would soon be dawn and that they needed to figure out some way of ending the odd encounter. It was then that Taylor turned to telepathy as an answer. Oh, of course, because that's the next natural progression. And began envisioning pictures of the routes out of the house via open doors, and where the creature could go in the wilderness after it escaped from her home. Oh, they mapped it out for the cougar. How nice. On the advice of guidance from an unnamed but presumably psychic source, Taylor and her roommate then roused the animal by way of a rhythmic drumming. Oh, you can't make this shit up. The mountain lion soon woke up and walked out of the house exactly as we had shown her. God. It's called a leash. Just lead it out.
That's good,
leash.
man. I wish I could work that on my kids.
Maybe you need to call this woman. While some may question the wisdom of how Taylor handled the incident, she cannot help but admire her conviction, especially since the cougar encounter unfolded so peacefully. It's a mystery as to whether or not her attempts to psychically communicate with the creature was what kept her safe, but it clearly didn't hurt since she made it through the weird event unharmed and with an amazing story to tell. That said, we're guessing that wildlife experts will say that should someone else find themselves in a similar position, they probably shouldn't try Taylor's method in their own home.
I agree. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll do some of the Parashare. We had to split it up because of having a very special guest join us today. We'll have some Parashare and a great guest, an interesting topic. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. For Tim Dennis, I'm Dave Schrader, and this is Beyond the Darkness.